Inuagata no Sahai is still my amiable name, and I'm so delighted to come your way this morning and make your day a premium value one. Now, the subject of my conversation with you this morning is how high employee turnover can damage your brand. How high employee turnover can damage your brand. Employee turnover is the rate at which employees leave a company, is the rate at which employee leave a business, is the rate at which employee, resign from a company, or is the rate at which businesses, lay off employees, or a combination of both. And when it becomes too frequent, when the rate at which employees or workforce members leave your business become too frequent, that can be very damaging for your brand. It can send a very negative signal about your brand. It can send a very negative signal about your business. And that is why today we are looking at how high employee turnover can damage your brand, so that you get to know some of them, and then you see how you can avoid them or reduce them to the barest minimum. Now, the number one way that high employee turnover can damage your brand is erosion of customers' trust. Erosion of customers' trust. Now, there are some businesses that are solely driven by reason of trust and strong relationship with customers. For example, a business like a pharmacy outlet, a business like microfinance, business or company, organization, such businesses are seriously dependent on the relationship and the trust between customers and representatives or staff of the organization. Now, for such businesses, there is a frequency of employees turnover, where there is a situation whereby, every now and then, an employee that maybe is an account officer to a customer, in that bank or in that microfinance bank, or an employee that is attending to a particular patient, whenever he or she comes to get his or her medication in that pharmacy, when that particular job role is continuously being occupied by different employees, this is going to break trust. This is going to break trust between the customer and the company. Now, not every customer, not every person that patronizes your business and engages your services like his or her financial history to be known by so many persons. Not every customer like his or her health history to be known by so many persons. And if the customer cannot trust you to always give them a particular staff, if the customer cannot trust you, cannot trust your business or trust your organization, that whenever he or she comes around, he or she will always meet the staff he or she met 2 months ago, 3 months ago, or a month ago, that can become very, very bad for your brand. The customer may likely just stop patronizing you, because at this level, his or her trust has been eroded, and this is very damaging for your brand. And the second one is loss of potential customers due to negative perception. Loss of potential customers due to negative perception. You see, the mindsets out there in the streets, the mindset out there in the society, that workers don't stay long with this XYZ company or organization, sends a very negative signal to customers. It makes customers not to have the confidence to come and patronize you, especially customers that are thinking of coming. They've not patronized you. They've not come to engage your service. They've not come to purchase your product. They are planning to. They are intending to. For example, if you run a private school, and then in that private school, within a session, a class have had not less than 4 classroom teachers. A particular class, let's say you call that class Ego class, in your school. And Ego class had not less than 4 classroom teachers. Now, this is going to send a very negative signal, to people out there, because the child in the class is going to pass that same information to the parents. The parents is going to tell people within his or her sphere of contact, and this can make potential parents that would have loved to bring their children to your school to just, review their decision. They just backtrack, and you may never get that patronage. So that is very damaging to your brand. We are looking at how employee turnover can damage your brand. The first one we said is erosion of customers' trust. And the second one is loss of potential customers due to negative perception. The third one is loss of institutional knowledge. There are some businesses that are in industries that are seriously driven by knowledge. That industry is heavily knowledge-based. The banking industry or the financial industry in general, you know, the insurance industry, and then also the health industry. These are fields and industry that is heavily knowledge-driven. They are knowledge-based, and then you will now see a situation whereby a staff, an employee that have stayed a prolonged period with such an organization or with such business, with such company, now resigns. The staff maybe have stayed for like 5 years, some of them 15 years, you know, some of them 20 years, and such staff decided to, you know, resign, or such staff is laid off. Now, when such staff leaves, that staff is leaving with a high deposit of knowledge. That staff is living with a premium level of industry experience. And then at the end of the day, we are going to have a crop of workforce that have less knowledge compared to that staff or those staff that have stayed for a very prolonged period. And so at the end of the day, this workforce we now have that less knowledge, that have less experience, have the high tendency to make mistakes that will cause damage to the brand of your business or brand of your organization. And this is one of the reasons you need to be very careful, you know, when there is a frequency of staff always leaving and resigning, or you laying them off, you know, from your business or organization. We are looking at how high employee turnover can damage your brand. The last one, which you know, there are so many of them, but we're just looking at 4 of them this morning, as time will permit us. The last one is negative word of mouth from old employees. Negative word of mouth from old employees. Now, there are some employees that have worked with some organizations, some businesses or companies, and they've not had palatable experience with that organization. When some of these employees leave, they go out there and spread negative word of mouth news about these companies they've worked with, just because they didn't have palatable experience, they didn't have positive working experience in that organization. And some of them do this offline, as they interface with people within their sphere of contact, as they meet their friends, as they meet their relations, as they interface with people in the worship centers. And then some of them even go as far as taking this negative word of mouth news to the online environment, and that can seriously damage your brand. This is a major reason for you as a CEO, as an entrepreneur and employer. You have to do everything possible to make sure that you create a work environment that will not make people to live on a regular basis. This is very important because it does not send a positive signal about your business, does not send a positive signal about your brand. You have to create that, inspiring and encouraging work environment that will make people not want to leave. There are situations whereby some people, some staff of organizations have even gotten better offers in terms of higher salary, higher pay, and they still decide to keep working with that organization. Now, that speaks volume that it is not always about money. It is not always all about better pay, but sometimes the working condition. There are some places you will go and work with higher pay, compared to where you are working now, but the environment is very toxic. And this is one of the reasons that we now see that many staff don't stay in that organization. You see the way the CEO talk down on the people with so much disrespect. You see the way the leadership there talk down on the people with no regard, with no value. And at the end of the day, you just get to a level, people get it up there, and they just say, let what will be will be. They just tender their resignation letter and leave. How high employee turnover can damage your brand? We have looked at 4 of them. The first one, erosion of customers' trust. The second one, loss of potential customers due to negative perception. The third one, loss of institutional knowledge. Then the fourth one, negative word of mouth from old employees. I believe that lots of value have been added to you today. I know you want to reach me as you have been doing. And so just connect with me on my online handles at Nosa Speaks on TikTok, at Nosa Speaks on LinkedIn, at Nosa Speaks on Thread, at Nosa Speaks on X, at Nosa Speaks One on Facebook, or you just take my name, enter it there into the social media space, and then all my handles pop up, and then we are able to have this conversation and take it to the next level. Send your questions, and then I give you direct answers direct from my device. I'll be seeing you next week, Wednesday. And when I return, I will say, remember, amiable. Inoagata no sahai. Your day is so blessed. Thank you.